Good morning, everyone. We will start this morning as we do always, which is with our CFA practices, beginning with the California Land Acknowledgement that was written by our Native and Indigenous Peoples Caucus. We want to recognize the land as an expression of gratitude and appreciation to those whose territory we reside on, and a way of honoring the indigenous people who've been living and working on the land from time immemorial. It is important to understand the long history that has brought us to reside on the land and to seek to understand our place within that history. Land acknowledgements do not exist in a past tense or historical context. Colonialism is a current ongoing process, and we need to build our mindfulness of our present participation. Acknowledging the land is an important indigenous protocol that we are honoring here today. Next, I'd like to ask us to, I'm not sure where you were coming from before you came into the room or what was happening, but I do want to center us. I'd like folks to position your body in a way that's comfortable to you. Maybe you want to get up and stretch. Maybe you want to just close your eyes for a moment. So let's take some breaths together as we enter this space with our attention. You take a deep breath into the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold it for a moment. Feel that breath in your body. And exhale. Take another breath. And exhale. Now let's make this third breath together a big one. Stretch your arms out to the side. Bring them into your body. Give yourself a warm morning hug as you breathe in deeply. And release. All right. Good morning. Our CFA interruption practice statement goes as follows. As part of our continuing commitment to racial justice work, when we experience examples of racial narratives, racism, or whiteness in our meetings, or as we conduct our business, we will speak up. This means we can interrupt the meeting and draw the issue to one another's attention. We will do this kindly, with care, and in good faith. Further, as we engage interruptions, we will take an intersectional approach, reflecting the fact that white supremacy and racism operate in tandem with interlocking systems of oppression, of colonialism, class, cis heteropatriarchy, and ableism. This statement is a reminder that we commit to do this in the service of ending the system of racial oppression.
Thank you, Audrina. Good morning, everyone. I'm Charles Toombs, CFA President, Professor of Africana Studies at San Diego State University. I am medium complexion, I'm wearing glasses, I'm bald-headed, and I have on a Black Lives Matters t-shirt. Today, I am honored to welcome our keynote speaker, Yvonne Wheeler. Yvonne has spent her life championing the rights of working people and is continuing that tradition as the newly elected president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, the second largest central labor council in the country. Growing up as the daughter of a longtime union activist in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, during the Civil Rights Movement, at an early age, she applied the principles of direct action and civil disobedience when, as a result of the 1965 desegregation decree, she was forced to attend a desegregated Baton Rouge high school. The school district refused to provide school buses for Wheeler and her classmates. So she joined a group of African American students who marched on district offices, producing some arrests, but it compelled officials to provide the buses. When holding dual roles as president of her local union and the A. Philip Randolph Institute, Wheeler focused on mentoring African Americans into leadership positions within the labor movement. For 5 years, she organized the A. Philip Randolph AFL-CIO African American Organizing Institute, with emphasis on recruitment, training, and job placement of African Americans in union jobs. Simultaneously, her local union won numerous awards to boost co-participation, organize new workers, and embrace political activism. In 2002, she was recruited by the AFL-CIO as a national field representative. Her credits include crucial LA area campaigns such as the Longshore Union Lockout, Supermarket Strike Lockout, and helping to defeat Governor Schwarzenegger's 2005 special election initiatives. Wheeler was co-chair of the LA Immigrant Workers Freedom Ride in 2003, championing the plight of immigrant workers. That year, she led AFL-CIO representatives organizing the first annual International Human Rights Day, handling strategy, program, and logistics. She has been the recipient of numerous awards and recognitions for her activism. Again, currently she serves as president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor and is the vice chair of the California Democratic Party Labor Caucus. She is a mother of two, daughter LaToya and son Daryl, and a proud grandmother of two, Cameron and Caleb Tate. With no further ado, I am honored to present to you Yvonne Wheeler. Welcome, Yvonne. And you need to go off mute. There you go.
I was muted. Good morning, CFA. My name is Yvonne Wheeler. I'm the president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. I want to thank Charles for that introduction. I also am a dark complected woman with long hair. I wear glasses and I'm wearing a unionized California black t-shirt. It's so wonderful and an honor to be speaking with each of you this morning. I could not think of a better place to be on a Saturday morning than with you, my fellow troublemakers at CFA. I would just wish it could have been in person instead of over Zoom, but I understand that safety comes first. I'd like to start off by thanking my sister, Adrena Redmond, for extending the invitation to speak with each of you. You've got a fighter, not only for working families, but for the community, and Sister Adrena Redmond. And Lord knows that today's climate, we need warriors for working families like Adrena, Melina Abdullah, who's also a good friend of mine, and the rest of you in CFA. I've known Adrena, we talked about it today for over 30 years. And let me tell you, she is amazing. In the labor movement, we use words like brother, sister, and siblings a lot because we're family. But Adrena is literally like a sister to me. Our relationship goes way back and she knows me about as well as anybody. And now that I'm president of the LA Fed, I want to do my best to create that kind of bond that I have with Adrena and Melina with as many of you as possible. Because of the work is based on relationships. And when you know where somebody comes from, the struggles that they have shaped them, the values that they hold in their heart, you're much closer to being a family. And when you're a family, you can have an honest conversation and push each other to accomplishments that you never thought possible. But it all starts with genuine relationships. So to those of you whom I have not yet had the pleasure of meeting, I'd like to tell you a little bit about where I come from, the foundational values that have shaped me, but also how I arrived to where I am today. I am the daughter of Louisiana, where I was raised by two hardworking parents, one of whom was a proud union letter carrier, and my mother, who was a cafeteria worker. In today's time, we talk about them as classified employees, both CSEA represented and SEIU Local 99. Unfortunately, my mother didn't have the benefit of a collective bargaining agreement. Now, talking about being a daughter of Louisiana, I don't want to age myself, but when I say that, I'm talking about living in the South, back when the civil rights movement was awakening the nation's consciousness to the ills of racism and bigotry. Unfortunately, I know all too well from my parents, my friends, and my own personal experience how racism poisons the soul of our nation. Growing up as a Black kid in Louisiana, I didn't always have it easy. Needless to say, was I born with a silver spoon in my mouth. And my parents taught me the value and the dignity of education and working hard. While we didn't have much, we had enough because of my dad's union job as a letter carrier. I didn't fully realize the value of his collective bargaining agreement and how his union job created pathways of opportunity for Black men like him. But I quickly learned as my own personal story unfolded. Fast forward a few years, I quickly learned that my dreams were bigger than what Louisiana could offer. So I moved to Los Angeles and got my first job as a rank and file union member with General Telephone Company. Many of you may remember GTE, now Verizon, now Frontier. I thought Los Angeles was going to be the land of opportunity and that racism was going to be a thing of the past. But after a few months at my job, I quickly learned that racism knew no boundaries. Racism and gender equalities weren't confined to the South. There's no sign when you leave Louisiana that says, now exiting the racist part of America. Racism knows no geographical boundaries. And my job at GTE was a stark reminder of that. I quickly realized how my co-workers who looked like me, Black women, were discriminated against for the pettiest things in the workplace. And I made sure my local union steward knew what was going on. Before I knew it, my fellow co-workers got together and pushed me to become the first Black president of my union. And it was for no other reason than speaking up for my fellow co-workers who were overwhelmingly women and workers of color. But in all honesty, I wouldn't have been able to do that and be so brave it has not been for my collective bargaining agreement. You see, our union contract allowed us to push back and call out injustice and inequality without fear of retaliation. Our union contract allowed us to call out racism without fear of being fired. Our union contract allowed us to call out gender disparities without the fear of being passed over for promotions. And our union contract allowed us to look at our boss in the eye and speak truth to power. It was these early experiences that shaped who I am as a woman, and I carried them with me today as the first Black president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. I will never lose sight of the everyday worker like each of you who are playing by the rules, working your shift and simply wants to keep a roof over your head and food on your table. That's what we're about at the end of the day. Dignity and respect for all, regardless of race, gender, immigration status, or sexual orientation. We're all workers at the end of the day who are giving our all to make our society a better place. As Dr. King said, all labor has dignity. And when I hear about the amazing work that the members of CFA do, you all bring justice to Dr. King's statement. After all, you're invisible, but always essential workers who are grooming the next generation of thought leaders. You're the ones who define what teaching and education is. Teaching isn't memorizing a few key lessons. Real education is teaching people how to think critically and question everything. After all, if people didn't think that asking critical questions, I would have still been in Louisiana, would have never been able to leave the South. We would not have a civil rights movement, a Black Lives Matter movement. Women would still be resigned to their house, and our siblings in the LGBT community would still have to hide who they are and who they love. But at some point in our nation's history, somebody thought to think critically and question why things were the way they are and were, and think about what alternative world would and should look like. And because of people like them, the dreamers, we made significant progress in bringing justice to the forefront. And I guarantee you that the people who began questioning everything and making the changes that our society needs were taught by a teacher or were teachers themselves. The members and teachers of CFA does God's work, because when our next generation is groomed to think outside of the box and challenge traditional norms, that's when society changes for the better. And that's how we continue advancing down the pathway of justice. Another example that highlights the importance of critical thinking is the question, what defines a good job? After all, we're told that people who work at McDonald's and Starbucks deserve minimum wages, but why? We're told that housekeepers and janitors deserve to be paid minimum wage, but why? When you ask why and you start looking deeper, you begin to notice patterns. For example, the workers in these industries are mostly women and workers of color, and the corporations that they work for earn billions. So why not pay fast food workers, Starbucks workers, Amazon workers, janitors, and housekeepers $25 an hour? That's called critical thinking and challenging norms. And once again, you begin questioning these things and envisioning alternative futures. Our world is never the same. That's thinking about it like this. Today, we've been told that manufacturing jobs are good jobs, but why? The truth is 100 years ago, they said manufacturing jobs are low-skill, minimum wage jobs, but the workers saw it differently. They saw millions that their bosses was making off their backs and asked why not? Why not pay us good wages? Their ability to think critically and challenge norms 100 years ago led them to unionizing and raising the bar in manufacturing. And 100 years later, nobody questions whether or not a manufacturing job is a good job. But it all began because workers dared to question norms and think critically. And again, that's the spirit that CFA members teach to our next generations. You all remind the sons and daughters of the labor movement that it's okay to dream big, and that those that are less fortunate dreams are just as important as anyone else's dreams. So I have no doubt that the future is bright, because the members of CFA are grooming the minds of the next generation, teaching them the problem solved. And Lord knows we need it, because we have some significant challenges ahead of us. And we're going to need the next generation of thought leaders to help guide us through. We're in the midst of a homeless pandemic, where working people are collecting paychecks but still cannot afford to pay the rent, let alone afford to buy a home in the city that they work in. We're staring down record inequality, where corporations are making record profits, but the workers who make our industries thrive continue to fall behind. We're watching the return of the Gilded Age, when workers are being asked to do more with less as they clean hotel rooms, stock shelves in warehouses, sanitize offices, and transport goods, resulting in them going home with broken bodies, carpal tunnel, or other permanent injuries that destroy their ability to live dignified lives. We're watching as budgets are being weaponized to suppress students of color from getting the adequate resources they need to qualify for education. Budgets are being weaponized to try and outsource our jobs, AKA bust the union. And budgets for Cal State systems are getting lighter as the student population and faculty are getting darker. I think it's safe to say that we stand at a crossroads here in Los Angeles County. So what do? As far as I see it, we have two options. We can either put our heads in the sand and pretend like everything is okay, or we can accept the challenges of our time, take ownership of this moment, and move forward together, arm in arm, in our quest for the alternative world that our dreamers have envisioned for all of us. My sisters and brothers and siblings, as long as I'm the president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, I pledge that we're going to take on the challenges of now and fight for the world that challenges the norm. Because that's what labor has always done. The shoulder that we stand upon did that for us yesterday, and we must keep that tradition going. We have always known that the solution for creating the world that we want to see has always begun in the workplace. From educators teaching us to critically think in their workplace, to the workers on the shop floor reimagining what a good job can be. The workplace has always been a laboratory for ideas, where we can watch the alternative future we want to play out in real time. Because when workers are standing shoulder to shoulder with their Black, immigrant, Latino, Asian, and LGBTQ co-workers fighting illegal terminations, stolen wages, and unsafe working conditions, fighting for anti-discrimination policies in their workplace, and fighting for dignified work wages and benefits against the same oppressive bosses, that's when they fully understand why Black lives matter, why immigrants' rights matter, why Latino rights matter, why Asian rights matter, and why LGBTQ rights matter. And that's when they reimagine and transform what a good job is and what a different world can and should look like. And once they understand the power of these statements beyond words, that's when they realize the righteousness of their collective fight. That's how they learn to stand on their own power. That's how we begin solving challenges of our day. And that's how we rebuild the labor movement in Los Angeles. And I firmly believe, no matter where you come from, what you look like, or whom you love, there is a place for you in this labor movement. So let me close with this. Change begins with an idea, planted by life experiences and watered by the delicate hands of our teachers and professors at CFA. And over time, those seeds blossom into the great society that we've all been fighting for. So when I see a room full of proud CFA members, I'm filled with a refreshed sense of hope and optimism, because I know that you're out there planting seeds of change every day. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to take the entirety of the labor movement if we're going to have any chance. But I pledge you that under my watch, we will always follow the North Star of justice. We will never run from a challenge. We will always stand up to bigotry and hate. And we will always stand united as one labor movement, as one community, and speak with one righteous voice that demands justice for all. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for being warriors for working families. And thank you for teaching our next generation to dream big and to be unapologetically bold.
Thank you for such moving words, Yvonne. A couple of your words really stuck out to me. We need to accept the moment we're in, accept the challenge and fight. We need to be fighting for structural change. We need to pay attention to everyday workers and their lived experiences at the workplace. We need to be outspoken. We need to be committed. We need to dream large. And the new leadership that is happening across the nation in our unions. Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean Black, Chicanx, Latinx, and other folks of color are bringing a new strength, a new direction to what we have to do in the labor movement. Mm-hmm. So really thank you. And everything you said, you're a partner with CFA already.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, sort of have a little conversation, and then we're going to take Q&A from our audience members.
Okay.
First, I want to ask you, after your historical win, what has it been like being the first Black president of the LA County Federation of Labor?
It's been nonstop. Nonstop. From the day of my election on November 21st, we've been trying, number one, let me just say this, and the staff has been a priority. I have not been able to fully embrace where I am in this movement because I've only been here for 3 months, 3 solid months. So I'm still trying to embrace it. But as you realize, we had the October surprise that brought me to this place. And so that's the big elephant in the room that has to be addressed. It was as a result of the recordings. It was not something that I ran for or planned for. And so it was, and we call it the October surprise. On Sunday, October 9th is when the recordings were released. And my predecessor stepped down the following day, which made it easier for us. And I'm a vice president of the Los Angeles County. Prior to being the president, I had been on the executive board for several years. And so trying to embrace it. So for me, the priority was the staff. And I think most people didn't recognize that they were directly affected by what happened and what occurred on October 9th, and they were traumatized. So coming in and trying to, I realized the historical aspect of my election, but I also understand the work that has to go in with it. And so I embrace it. I'm trying to embrace it, but under the circumstances and the cloud that was over it, I had to make sure that I had staff and that they were adequately taken care of and provided for. And so we provided trauma counseling for them when I first got elected, and then I gave them time off. I was elected on the 21st. On the 22nd, I told them all go home for the rest of the year, because in the midst of that, in the midst of the October surprise, the staff continued to work. And they won 2 elections, 2 historic elections. One in Los Angeles with Mayor Karen Bass, one in Long Beach with Mayor Rick Richardson, and won the majority of the votes on Long Beach City Council, the 2 largest cities in California. And they also won United to House LA, which will take on the housing crisis in Los Angeles. And so although that was a part of the historics, it was the cloud and everything that brought me there. And I'm still trying to manage all that. And, but for me, it was the priority was the staff.
Thank you for that. I want to dig a little bit deeper into the elephant in the room.
In the room, go ahead, let's dig.
And I have 2 related questions. What is the work happening now to heal the wounds exposed by the leaked conversations? And 2, what is the Fed's relationship with Black and Native and Indigenous activists who are calling for Kevin De Leon to resign?
Okay, so and I think we had this conversation earlier during the session, and I will say, let me answer in part, because you asked me like a 3-part question. So let me dissect it. First and foremost, what we're doing to heal. So the first thing we did when we came back, we had a Martin Luther King celebration. So we had to, that was in the works. So we had to complete that. That was the largest Martin Luther King celebration we had in the history of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. There were 1,300 participants. I personally addressed the recordings in that room, and I stated unequivocally, we reject any forms of, and I will say, and I wrote it down here because I want people to know what I said during that day. I say many of us are aware of the events that occurred on Sunday, October 9th, and the subsequent recordings that were released by 4 individuals who we believe were trusted members of our family. The recordings left many of us hurt, angered, despondent, and disappointed. The pervasive nature of hatred and systemic racism that we fight against every single day proved that it has no barriers, no boundaries, and we heard it spoken inside the House of Labor. We all felt the crushing weight of despair, anger, and sorrow as the very heart of our fight for racial, social, and economic justice was called into question due to the unacceptable behavior and beliefs expressed on those recordings. Sisters, brothers, and siblings, let me be clear. The Los Angeles labor movement is not defined by those beliefs and statements made on those recordings. We not only unequivocally denounce and reject them, but we stand against inequalities, injustices, anti-Blackness, anti-Indigenousness, homophobia, any other forms of discrimination with the urgency of now. That was my statement at the Martin Luther King celebration. Subsequently, we had a interfaith breakfast where I said it again, and we're going to have, and I said in that statement, we will have convenience with all stakeholders, especially those that have been involved in those recordings. We hired a private investigator to investigate who we think, well, we don't know, but to find out who recorded it. And that's not to protect those individuals, but when you come into an organization where there's mistrust among the staff, but also anybody, individual who want to come over there, you have to do your due diligence. So we've hired a private investigator to find out who did the recordings, because me coming in as a newly elected president is very uncomfortable in that environment. We also included security measures, increased our security measures within the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, but we unequivocally denounced what was said. And I say to anyone that if you want to record me, you can, but you'll never hear me make those types of statements. You'll never hear that come out of my mouth.
No, that was great. You want to speak a little bit to how you're working with Black and Indigenous activists to actually force Kevin De Leon to step down?
So as I said with you all, the LA Fed is not going to spend a dime on trying to recall Kevin De Leon. But what we will do is run somebody against Kevin De Leon if he chooses to run for office. I believe, and I think most of us believe, that he should have stepped down when Nuri Martinez stepped down. Gil Cedillo ran his stayed until he turned out. And Kevin should have done the same. We think it's egregious of him to stay there. I do not support it. But the LA Fed is not going to spend a dime on a recall, because we believe that once you go through that process, his term is over, right? Yeah. And so we just going to wait his term out if he chooses not to step down, but we are looking at candidates to run against him. Mm-hmm. And we will finance those candidates to run against him and replace him in the 14th City Council District. Yeah.
No, okay. That sounds like a plan.
Oh, we have a plan.
Another question now, a little bit shift in the...
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Oh, a little bit of a shift in the direction, sort of looking to the future in a different way. We've heard through the grapevine that the LA Fed is planning to lock arms with Mayor Bass, Mayor Richardson, and the Board of Supervisors on the issue of our day, homelessness. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little about what your role will be in making this significant campaign for just too many of us who are out on the streets?
So let me share this. So we had a staff retreat, and we came out with a strategic plan, and one was to not only do certain events, the convenings with our community partners around the recordings, but also to do a poverty and homelessness summit that will be conducted by the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. And we have what is called United LA, and that's United to House, which was sponsored by the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. So we're working directly with the mayor and both mayors in both cities on this homelessness summit. and how we move forward from there. Yeah.
If this were 2028, would you be saying anything differently around homelessness?
I would hope so.
So?
Look, if we do, and look, both mayors have been focused on reducing homelessness, and what Mayor Bass has done in her city is called Inside Safe, and she's locking arms with not only the mayor of Long Beach, but with some of the city council members in Los Angeles, targeting the various city council districts about getting people housed. I would hope that in 2028, we can safely say that we have not eradicated homelessness in our city, but that we significantly reduced it. Because we don't, a lot of our members are homeless.
Mm-hmm.
As I shared with you, I'm aware of a lot of our members that are homeless, and we've got programs within the Los Angeles County Federation. We have what's called Labor Community Services, where we're trying to help people get housed, but it's overwhelming. So we'll pay their utility bills, we'll pay give them some rental assistance, but this is a huge problem, and it's going to take intervention not only from labor, but and this is the first time in history that labor has ever addressed the homelessness crisis in the city.
Mm-hmm. Some of our members are also homeless,
yes.
and they may be doing couch surfing rather than being on the street, but
I'll sleep in their cars.
Yeah, or sleeping in the cars. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have two more questions, then I'm gonna turn it over to Q&A. As the saying goes, in order to move forward, you must first understand your past. Mm-hmm. You've been very upfront about your pride in serving in former LA President Miguel Contreras' kitchen cabinet in the 90s and early 2000s. What lessons did you learn from Miguel, and how do you plan to apply them during your tenure as president?
So that was a loaded question, because, and I'm gonna say that I was an advisor to Miguel, and as a part of his kitchen cabinet, encouraging him to run Black candidates for office. I was always that, that part of the kitchen cabinet would sometimes require you to be honest with him. He was a great labor leader. I take from him how we have to take politics more seriously than other leaders had done, his predecessors had done. Because, and I say this to my members, when I was a local president, everything we negotiate at the bargaining table can be taken away by a strike of a pen. And Miguel clearly understood that before most of us did. So I did take that from it. But I also had an advantage in that I worked for the AFL-CIO. And a part of my responsibilities was overseeing Central Labor Councils. So you say you was in San Diego at the time that I was there. Jared Buckowitz was over the San Diego Labor Council. I helped restructure the Orange County Labor Federation. It was a labor council at the time. They renamed it the Federation. So I was keenly aware of how a labor council should function. So coming into Los Angeles, and I've been in the labor movement for 30 years, and I've worked with the past 7 leaders of the Labor Council, which was Jim Woods, Miguel Contreras, Martin Ludlow, Maria Elena Durazo, Rusty Hicks, Ron Herrera, and I guess me now, but past 6 of them. And so got to see how each one of them operated, and all of them operated differently. But if I could say the takeaway from Miguel was understanding politics and how important it is to the work that we do.
Thank you. I have a sort of a comment, and then finally there will be a question. But first, we're so proud to have you serve as president of the LA County Federation of Labor. The gravity of this historical moment, however, is not lost on us. You are the first Black woman to be president of the LA Fed. And however, At times, it seems like Black women are always coming in to clean up somebody else's mess. And it's unfortunate that the first Black woman to be president is coming to power while the LA Fed is under a cloud of suspicion and distrust. We want you to be successful as the first Black woman to lead the LA Fed. How can we help you achieve your goals?
Continue to send Melina to my meetings to keep us accountable. Let me tell you about Melina Abdullah, and I don't know if she's on here, but she comes in, and Melina is one that will hold you accountable. And I appreciate that, because I don't care where you are, who you are, you always need that individual that will pull, to keep you on your toes and hold you accountable. And so I ask CFA, and I have no problem. I talk about holding others accountable, but I want to be held accountable as well.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn to some questions from the audience. If I don't ask you a question, if it seems to be maybe one of the questions I asked, that's the reason why. But let me just sort of turn to them and see what we have here. Oh, well, what is a good comment I think you might like to hear, Yvonne? I am a product of the A. Philip Randolph Institute. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity and mentorship you provide from both near and far. And the question is, how do you get more folks involved with organized labor? And this is from Boris Riggs.
Oh, Boris. Boris Riggs is a member of CFA. Look, what we're going to do, and we used to hold a 3-day organizing institute. We're going to go back to that. I'm going to host the first in years, the 3-day African American Organizing Institute. And that's to bring folks into the labor movement. And once they complete that training, if they want to go on, it's with the guarantee of having 3 weeks on an organizing campaign. And how successful they are, most unions will hire them. Yes.
Thank you. This is from an anonymous attendee. Part of CFA's values in anti-racism and social justice work is to create safe learning conditions for students and safe working conditions for our faculty. Campus police and policing have proven harmful, including several issues with our faculty of color being targeted by police in their place of work, like Stephen Osona at CSU Long Beach and Melina at CSU LA. How can we continue to support safe working and learning conditions in the LA Federation of Labor if we are still affiliated with police associations?
So the LA Fed is a voluntary association. We don't get to dictate who affiliates. If you're a labor union and they're considered a labor union, they can affiliate. I was not the one that brought them back in. My predecessor brought them back in. I don't have the ability. There's nothing in the Constitution that allows me or anyone else to kick them out. And so I've been confronted with that question before. They're union members, and so we don't always agree with everything that union members does, but we don't have the ability to dictate who can affiliate and who cannot affiliate. There is a rule that says if you're a union, you can affiliate with the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, and it's a voluntary organization. I used to work for the American Federation of Government Employees, and they represented Border Patrol and ICE. And although I didn't agree with them, I had to represent them. And so I don't always agree, and I've spoken out against police abuse, and Melina will tell you at the last delegates meeting what happened with Keenan Anderson. Really, I spoke out against that as well. And so I'll tell them how I feel, and I'll challenge some of the policies that they have, but I don't have the ability to, none of us have the ability to kick them out.
A related question, which is—
I remove them, from the LA Fed. Or any federation.
Any federation.
Yeah, okay, yes.
A related question, which isn't necessarily about kicking them out. This is from Lita Ramos from CSU LA. Can you share your thoughts on police associations in the Labor Federation who do not abide by anti-Black and social justice labor rights?
As I said, I represent all the members of the LA County Federation of Labor, and I don't make those decisions about what they do. And it's not just the police who don't abide by anti-Blackness. What was the question again?
Really, just what can you do with police associations in the Labor Federation who do not abide by anti-Black and social justice labor rights?
Okay, so they are autonomous. Local unions are autonomous. And just like I can't come in CFA and tell you what your policies are, I can't go into the police union and tell them what their policies are. Yeah.
Thank you. Question from Gilda Bloom Leva. The primary for Senator Feinstein's seat will be contentious. Which candidate will be the best candidate to support that would benefit union members?
I said earlier, if you asked me a question, so let me just say this. There is a process. I always think that representation matters. And so I'm going to just leave it there. I'm looking at the candidates that are up for, that's the contender. You have, right now, you have Barbara Lee, you have Adam Schiff, and you have Katie Porter that's already announced. That process goes through a rigorous process, and we know what the process is. You have to go through the whole endorsement process. That's something that's handled on a state level. I can't say who would be the best candidate. I know I have my favorite, I will not announce here, but I have who I would like to take that seat. But
I do too, and I won't announce it.
I do too. You know, we all have our favorites. Yeah.
This one is more of a comment, and I think you should hear it. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for the work you do and for your inspirational words. I sometimes forget the power that we have as people who can help shape the future leaders of our society. It's such important work, and I very much appreciate your tireless efforts to make sure all of us have the opportunity to do the parts of this work that we are able to do, and that is from Wendy St. John.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. You shape you shape our future. You get to you help shape our future, and we said I said that unequivocally. You have a lot of influence over our children and the future of this country.
Thank you again, Yvonne. Talitha Matlin has this question. How is the Federation making room for more voices and unions in its leadership?
How is the Federation making room? I'm not sure how to answer that. So let me just say this. We are a voluntary organization. So if someone wants to affiliate, if you're a labor union who wants to affiliate, you fill out an affiliation form. To make room for them, there's room at the table for everybody. I believe that, seriously, there's room at the table for everyone. But we don't make room, you just affiliate with the Labor Federation. Yes. I don't know if I answered her question, or if she can elaborate on what that means, that would be helpful.
And she may do that. I have one question that actually come through to me via text. We have some of our members that are part of the planning, they're part of a group text. What are your thoughts about artificial intelligence and the future of work? What jobs will be threatened?
Automation. Look, we talk about the future of workers. I used to represent, and it is the future. It is the future, and we have to prepare our members for it. I used to represent 1,000 operators in downtown Long Beach. All those jobs were automated. So I'm not in favor of automation. I don't think any labor leader would be in favor of automation, but it is the future of the country. So we have to prepare. I have a department dedicated not only to social justice. I created, under my leadership, I created a department of community, civic engagement and outreach, but also we have a future of work department because we're exploring it. We have to be prepared for it, and we have to prepare our workers for it.
Do you have an alternative to police? And I'm going to maybe in the workplace, but for us, we are really pushing for alternatives to campus police and non-criminal matters on our campus.
I don't believe in police on campuses. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
I don't believe so, because my son and I'm the mother of a Black man, gentleman, and I don't think police should be on any school campuses. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a question from Ron Chin. Yvonne, thank you for the inspiring talk. Appreciate your pledge to build the LA Fed across ethnic boundaries. What are you planning to do to change the culture that led to the white elephant?
What the white elephant?
That behind the scenes stuff.
Recordings? Are they talking about the recordings?
Yeah.
An October surprise,
yeah,
is that what they're referring to?
That's
what am I doing?
What will you do to change that culture?
I don't think it's a culture. I think it was an incident. I think it was targeted at one individual, and it does not speak for us as a labor movement. But we've taken precautions that it will not happen again, including security measures within the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, hiring a private investigator, creating policies and procedures that were not in place. I think, does that answer the question? I
think it does. Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. Right.
Another question from Teresa Montano from CSU Northridge. I am a longtime unionist and appreciate your work to work for United Los Angeles Labor Union. As someone born and bred in LA, I know that it is not an easy project. It appears like our siblings in United Teachers of LA and SEIU Local 99 are up against great odds and may go on strike. What will we, the county Fed, do to support LA teachers?
We are there 100% with Cessna. In fact, I just got a text while we were talking. I know that SEIU 99 has already requested, notified the school that they're going to go on strike. And they said that UTLA plans on joining the anticipated 3-day strike. So we're there for them. We provide strike support to all of our unions, any union that go on strike. And I've been very engaged with Cecily, as well as Max Arias with the 99 on their strike. And we provided them with strike sanction.
Thanks again. This is from an anonymous attendee. What suggestions do you have for us as we envision an equitable future and build solidarity? What steps do we need to make as we get into bargaining for our rights?
We have to come together with all the other unions that are, one of the things I think was a positive, and I could just only use what's going on with UTLA and 99, is now they came together and that makes them stronger. So having those alliances, having community alliances when you go into strike or you going into contract negotiations, supporting you doing those actions, having the Labor Federation on board early, as both UTLA and 99 has done, so that we can prepare for your strike and provide you the resources that you need to go on strike if it happens that way. We have the hotel workers right now have 100 contracts that are coming up for expiration in May, and they align their contracts to all expire at the same time, so they will be stronger during their negotiations, or they will shut the city down.
I love that. Shut it down if you have to.
Shut it down if I have to, yeah.
Here's a real short and easy question. Thanks, Yvonne. This is from Kim Jerome from East Bay. How can we get that beautiful long sleeve shirt?
What, unionized California?
Yeah, unionized California. I guess maybe.
Okay, we'll tell him to send me his mailing address. We'll mail him one. We're gonna provide these to all the Los Angeles unions. I'm having them made for all of our union members in Los Angeles, but we'll send him one.
All right.
Yeah.
Antonio Gallo from Northridge. Vote for Yvonne for U.S. Senator.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay.
Okay, here's one from an anonymous attendee. Hi, I realize you have hired a private investigator to find the identity of the person who recorded the racist conversation. But doesn't this person's action fall more under whistleblower? What's the benefit of identifying and possibly taking action against this person?
A whistleblower does not do it in secret. A whistleblower does it confidentially, so you know who the whistleblower is. That was not a whistleblower. That's not considered a whistleblower. And it violated the law. Even though we don't agree with what was said, that was a violation of the law and of the Privacy Act. And so not agreeing with what was said in those recordings, but I don't want to be in an environment where I feel like I'm being recorded secretly. Yeah. So that's not whistleblower. And it doesn't fall under the Whistleblower Protection Act.
Thanks. Kathy Jamison from Sac State. Appreciate you so much, Yvonne. And then this is her question. Any strategies for not letting electeds and management bat our issues back and forth to avoid resolution? For example, Governor Newsom saying our salary is a bargaining issue and management saying salary is a budget issue.
I have not been involved. Well, Governor Newsom is not have been. Let me be careful how I don't want to say anything that may backfire on me because I have to deal with the governor. But I just think that what we see going on with Cal State and the management is awful. You know, yeah. So I can say that for a certainty and not be faced. I don't care about retaliation from them. Yeah.
And what Kathy is referring to is that the legislature approved $100 million so that we would get a 4% rather than a 3% general salary increase. And then Governor Newsom vetoed that.
Well, that's not good.
I said it was bargaining. Yeah, that was, yeah.
He vetoed
So
it.
it wasn't good. And so some of us are
I wasn't
tiptoeing through with Newsom.
We should have said that. That's not. I don't agree with the governor vetoing it if it was negotiated. He should not be entering into any negotiations. I know that the state is facing a budget deficit, but you're entitled to the raise that you negotiated. So I don't agree with that.
I don't have any more questions in Q&A. There were a lot of questions.
Boy, they came
really
at me.
Enjoyed everything that you said, this dynamic and experienced leadership that you are going to be bringing. We're just looking forward to it and to working with you.
Thank you so much. And I appreciated the conversation as well. Thank you.